Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Chris and this is the Business Hustle. Today we have Peter from Nomadic Watches in and he's here to share a bit of wisdom, a bit of advice and a bit of just what your story is. So Henry, take the first question.
Right, well first and foremost we want to know who are you and what you do, how long are you in business, all that. Get all that stuff out of the road and we get down to the brass tacks.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So obviously we've been working together for quite a while now, so we're quite excited to get down, sit down and have this chat. So yeah, Peter McCauley from Nomadic Watches, and we make luxury watches that connect people with their roots, their story, and a bit of sort of history from Belfast. So we hand build everything in-house in Belfast, and that's something that we sort of uniquely do, and it's creating a luxury watch, but it's also creating something that's a bit of a connection. And I always say a watch doesn't really just tell the time, it tells your story, and I think it's something that's going to last for generations. It's nice to have an emotional connection with it.
Yeah, the first time I met you actually was probably the first time I've really got into watches and started discovering what watches really actually properly mean.
Yeah.
Whenever I looked at like the movements and how detailed you got about like what actually goes on in behind the watch, got me really interested, and I thought I actually need to learn a lot more about watches. So if you're watching this right now, no pun intended, I think actually there's a whole world of watches, and maybe you're totally different to me, that you've maybe seen like the Rolexes and like the tags and all the different types of brands, and there's some really unique and very classy brands as well, and they all have stories, and that's what I love about your watch, is that it's got this kind of like really embedded story. Especially like we've been down the Titanic and you'd show me the room, actually you sat and you sketched out the ideas. So I love all that, and I love that it links our whole kind of shipbuilding industry together as well. And something that I'm always really proud of whenever I look at Northern Ireland, that we've got so many amazing brands, amazing people, amazing inventors that are actually making stuff. And I think we're probably like one of the best countries in the world for making stuff.
I totally agree, yeah.
Go ahead, Peter, I'll ask, because I have a number of questions I want to get asking you, because one of the things was this, is obviously you've got the Nomadic brand, which is obviously connected to our amazing city here in Belfast. You, because we know you, have got an engineering type brain, you know, so why a watch? Because you've got guys out there who are just ready to unearth a business, and they probably don't even know what it is until they get into the mix. You're sitting here, a few years ago, you were working in a different industry, you took your entrepreneurial and your engineering type brain, you come up, why? You didn't sit one day and go, I'm going to make a watch. I'm going to make a watch brand. What was the connection to help the guys out there? What was the connection to pick away at the creativity?
So I didn't set out to create a watch brand. It wasn't like a dream I'd always had, but I was a mechanical engineer, so I was always fascinated with mechanical things and how they work and taking things apart. And I was always fascinated by watches, and my dad had a few nice pieces and my uncle and stuff like that. So I was always around them and I always enjoyed watches. And then it wasn't until after working in engineering for a lot of years and kind of dawned on me that I was probably more interested in business than I was in engineering, and I knew I wanted to start my own business, and I knew I had to do that at some point, and at some point it just sort of kicked in and I realized it wasn't going to happen unless I actually did something about it, and I was trying to come up with these ideas, and I sort of eventually put together my sort of love of watches and the engineering that I knew was inside them, how to actually create one, and almost like the creation of the watch and the engineering behind it was kind of the easy bit for me, and it was actually developing that into like a brand and a business that was actually going to be impactful. That was the kind of challenge, and that was where I sort of started with Nomadic, and we just were making a handful of watches, and once we got them out there into the market and people seen them and tried them and got some amazing feedback, that gave me the confidence that we could sort of make a really go of this, and was able to focus on it full time, and that's when things started to really take off.
Hey, hope you're getting a load of value from what we're speaking about today in this episode, and if you want to subscribe, we would absolutely appreciate it. Just drop a little link down in below, and we would love to hear from you. We would love to find out your comments on some of these little podcasts that we're doing, but we hope that you're getting good content from them.
Yeah, and Chris and I's commitment to you guys is to put out high-end quality content on a weekly basis that helps you scale yourself, that scales your business. how did the pneumatic thing come up? Obviously, you've that passion before. You like watches,
Yep.
I'm an engineer, so you're already away. So who was sitting where when somebody went, I've got an idea, what can we call it, after a ship in Belfast?
Yeah, so I used to work in the Titanic quarter, so I was walking past the pneumatic all the time, and I was sort of sitting in the Titanic hotel when I was coming up with a lot of the ideas and sketching it out, and I think it just slowly crept up on me and dawned on me that, oh, pneumatic, that's a really cool. I was searching for something that would stand on its own, and if you've no connection to Belfast, you've never heard of it or anything, it's just a cool name that stands for an adventure, is sort of, and that's the vibe I wanted for the watches and what I'm kind of all about. So I was wanting something that would stand on its own, and then also have that link to home and that connection to Belfast. And I love Belfast, and I was sort of growing up here and went to school in the city, and it is something I want to put on the map, really, and that's kind of our mission. And to have that tie back to Belfast, and when I came across pneumatic, it just, I knew it was perfect.
Yeah, I think as like business owners, a lot of people get into business just because maybe their parents done the same type of job, or they seen an opportunity just to get into it, and very quickly it fizzes out because it's maybe they're pursuing cash, or they're pursuing something that they're not really into. But you can hear that from you. You can see it from the products as well, that there's passion behind it, and you actually enjoy doing what you do. As much as you enjoy the business side of it, you enjoy the actual product as well. And I think having those two things together helps you get up in the morning early. I know that you actually get up early and get into an ice bath, which is the worst. You can actually tell us a bit about that. Why have you done this to yourself?
So I started getting into cold water stuff about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago or so, and I started enjoying getting into the sea and sea swimming, and I found that really therapeutic, and then just gradually became a bit of a daily habit, and I got a bit of addicted to it, I think. So it's not something you think, oh yeah, I'm going to really look forward to getting in a cold shower, or like getting in a plunge pool. But I got one of those, ice bath things for Christmas. So I started on Christmas Day, and it's been I think 39 days in a row now in the ice bath first thing in the morning, and it really wakes you up. But for me, it's kind of, it's training your brain to do something that you don't really want to do, and then well, I've done something hard today, I can probably go and do other hard things as well. And it's training that little muscle in your brain to overcome resistance to wanting to do things. And then later in the day, when I'm like, well, I don't want to do that task, that, or whatever it is that you're putting off, that little thing kicks in your mind. You're training to think differently. So I find that's sort of why I'm doing it. And every morning I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Why am I doing this? This sucks. And then
Breathing apparatus, and obviously we went down to the Kieran May. Well, you get into the water, we didn't. We were have you embraced that, and has that helped you through different things?
Get in the cold water, and if you can control your breath, it helps to kind of calm you and center you. And then when you're in stressful situations, maybe later in the day or in your work or general busy life or sitting in traffic even or whatever, you can kind of tie back to that, and you can control your breath, and it helps keep you calm and keep you steady. And I think when you're trying to run a business, as you guys know, it's stressful. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you're juggling so many balls, and just to be able to take a moment and relax helps keep me sane. So
that's a good question, actually. So you started out, and it was a kind of small operation. Started to grow again. It's grown out. Every time I see you, actually, you've new apparatus, you've new special equipment in. I was down in your place filming a couple of days ago, and I was amazed just about all the tech that you've put in there. So you can see the passion that's going into it and the investment going into the business. But how much kind of mind time is it taken up from where it was a couple of years ago to getting to sleep at night?
Well, we were just talking about getting to sleep at night there before we come in, and something I do still struggle with is how do you switch that brain off at night, so now I listen to some either audiobooks or sleep casts and things with these little sleep headphones that are really flat, so you can lie on your pillow and not sort of be uncomfortable. So that's been a game changer for me for actually getting to sleep. Definitely looking for £20 odd on Amazon. It's probably the best purchase I've ever made, those sleep headphones.
And one of the added benefits, you get the one with the eyes, you don't have to look at the wife. Well, if I can't watch it, it's a joke.
No, I was nearly going to say something else. Sorry about that. I thought better of it. So, I think juggling all those kind of stresses. Initially I was a one-man band, and I was doing as like a side project as well. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, so I still had a full-time, pretty full-time job as well, and trying to do nomadic on the side. And at one point, yeah, it does get overwhelming, and I think I probably did break at one point. There's only so many balls you can juggle, and you will drop some. But once I sort of made the decision and was able to focus purely on nomadic and just do that, it got a lot easier, and it felt so much less stressful for a long period. And now there's a lot going on. It can be stressful, but it doesn't really feel stressful. It's exciting, more than anything.
Cool. Can I even ask there, obviously everybody's at different points. Everybody wants to know where they start. We all seen the Bezos photograph of him sitting in an office on his Jack Jones with an Amazon sign, which is slightly off. And it's a wonderful story. You've obviously started this as a side hustle. You obviously didn't throw £1 million at it straight away, but you started it somewhere. Without going into the details of monetary investment and stuff like that, can you give the guys, because obviously we want to inspire, the way you have done so many times over the years, we want to inspire people who are sitting looking for an idea, but they think they need 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand to say, right, I need to send blah, blah, blah off to get this stock in. Can you give us a wee bit of insight without obviously divulging any?
That's a really good question, because I think if you're thinking about starting a business, it always is overwhelming. I couldn't possibly do that, and I was in exactly that position. I was thinking, how do I start a watch? I'm going to need hundreds of thousands of pounds in investment for R&D and for all this stuff that you think you're going to need. And the way I sort of approached it then eventually, I realized I was just going to have to start. I was going to have to do something if I wanted to make it happen. So how could I scale it down into the minimum viable product? How could I take some sort of action right now that would move me forwards towards it? So I just sort of pared it back, and I always ask a question like, what would this look like if it was easy? And then try and go along that line of questioning. And I was like, well, you could pare this back, you could pare that back. You don't really need that. You can do that later, and eventually scaled it down. So I sort of went in with a bit of savings that I had, not tens of thousands of pounds, and was able to invest in getting the brand developed, because I think that was really core. Getting that brand aligned first, and then developing the product, and was able to get to the stage of building prototypes. And then once we built prototypes, from there it was easy to start to get people on board and almost like pre-sell those before we'd even made a big batch. So it was a good way to take the risk out of it and test it and make sure it worked before plowing loads of money into it. And then once we were able to make some watches, get the feedback from experts, and they said, yeah, these are great, and then that gave me the confidence to invest money into it, and also our clients confidence that, yeah, this is going to be good, I can get behind it and support it. And the feedback since making them has been amazing, and it's just started to grow from there.
Was there any early door setbacks that you want, this mightn't work, or there's times when you're scaling the business, and a lot of us over the years we started there. You were obviously in employment, then you started, for one of the use of Gary V, a side hustle that was going on. When it started to grow, it obviously didn't pay your bills and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there was times where you go, was it worth it? Or is it worth it? Yeah. Obviously, we're looking, hindsight's wonderful when you look back. And these are the things there where you were sitting at night when you had your headphones on and you got where you couldn't see anyone, and you're going, I don't know if this is worth it. Did you have any of those moments early doors you go, will this work? Or you just do, I'm going to push this?
Yeah, I think you always have those doubts, and you always question yourself, is this going to work? Am I doing the right thing? Can I do this? And I think you have to ignore the naysayers externally, because you speak to your friends, your family, and other business people, and a lot of people just maybe won't get it, and will with your best interest in heart, they don't want to see you go out and fail, and they'll be like, oh, I don't think you should, it's safer to do this, play it safe, take it, and you have to learn to sometimes take on the advice, but other times just completely ignore it and ignore all those naysayers. And you also then have to learn to ignore your internal critics and internal naysayer, because you're always going to have that little voice in the back of your head that says, oh, you can't do this, you're not good enough to do that. Other people have imposter syndrome, yeah, for sure. And I think the way for me anyway that I was able to overcome that is you can't just have this blind confidence, but you do need confidence. So you only get that from having evidence that says, yes, you've done this and that went well. So that means you can also do these other things and that went well. And you have to build up these little banks of confidence boosters. So, I was successful in that field. So why couldn't I be successful there as well? And that helps you kind of get over all those things.
Cool. How important was Jane? Jane is Peter's wife, who doesn't see at night in the bed because he's got a blindfold on. How important was Jane early doors? Because I know obviously the three of us have got at least one wife, and there's times where I brought ideas to the table where my wife maybe think you need to think about this or no or blah blah. How important was Jane in the early days?
I think Jane didn't really. She was quite skeptical, I think, and was like skeptical of maybe the business and was like, I don't know if that's going to work. But she knew that she believed in me, I think. Maybe didn't believe in the idea of the business, but she knew that I did. And she was like, okay, well, I know that you, won't stop talking about it. So either just shut up and do it or don't, or shut up sort of thing. So those give me a bit of a push to do it. But then, yes, as we started going, I would make a few sales and then she'd be like, oh, okay, that's working. You do seem to know what you're doing here. And then I was like, yeah, well, I told you I knew what I was doing. So no, she's been really good at then, like supporting me in the background. And those times whenever you do doubt yourself and you're feeling overwhelmed, that's where she's right there to sort of give me a bit of a kick up the backside. so yeah.
Part two, because what if I do feel, because you've had maybe 5 or 7 people say, no, and then you go, they're going to be right.
Yeah.
In the long run. And I think through the journey, whether you're starting up a business, and again, because you're obviously on the road now a few years and you've grown in the last year and a bit, because one of the biggest steps you took from working remotely was you took a stunning office down in Scottish Providence. Do you want to?
That was a big sort of gamble in terms of like taking on an office space, and like, everyone I spoke to, business colleagues, industry guys, all said, you can't do that. You can't open up a luxury watch boutique in the middle of central Belfast in the cost of living crisis. Like, are you crazy? You can't do that. Overheads will crush you and all this kind of stuff. But I was just so confident that having a physical space was going to be really key to selling watches online is great. You can do a lot there, but you can reach a really wide audience. But it's such a tactile thing. People want to come in and touch it, and
it's the credibility as well. Once you see I thought that was your big kind of pivot, was that whenever you went from an online to a physical, tangible, I can come in, see the stuff being made, and now in the case of what you have now, see the stuff being assembled, all the little different kind of like touch points that you can fix and customize as well. So I think that pivot point where you can physically see this thing's made here in Northern Ireland, something we're really proud of. It's got a real proper brand. It's not just a render on a website. Because how many times have you bought something off a website that you went, that looks good, and then it arrives and you go, that's not like what you wanted. So I think it's been amazing of an actual transition, taking that big step. And since then, it will force you into new steps as well. It'll force you into hiring more team, relying on those people inside your team to do some of those things that you were really precious about. And I found that with us, that whenever we were growing our agency, it was essentially me and Henry. I was designing, he was getting the sales, and his wife Kate was doing the print. Okay. This is way back in the early 90s, and we started out there. And then as we grew, the business had to grow the team, because you can't be everywhere at once. Yeah. And because it's your own baby, you want to really kind of like keep the quality and keep all like everything in-house and feel like it's you that's involved in it. So a lot of it, I think, is trust as well, that you have to trust your team and you have to let them bring their talent to what your business is as well. How's that for you at the minute?
I think it's probably still something I'm learning and getting used to, because when you go from doing everything yourself and being in total control of it is a little bit scary to kind of relinquish that over to someone. But when you see the benefits of someone that's really talented in their field helping you with something, or you can give them full control over an element, like it just takes you from here to there so much faster, and it's something you just have to kind of trust it. Yeah, it's actually brilliant. Yeah.
You walk in and you see like one of the guys have maybe done something without you even having to prompt it, and you look at it and you go, I'm delighted. That's an absolute solved a problem that I had, and it's a lovely thing to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like for you in a couple of years' time, whenever you've grown again, because there's no doubt there's just so much potential with what you're doing.
How do you feel that Peter McCauley has developed as a person, as a leader, in that short space of time? Because it's different when you bring your first person on who's going to be person on staff or part of the team or whatever. When you know yourself, if you look for where you were, say, a year back before you took on the place down in Belfast, you know, when you look at it, you say, well, this is where I see it. I think it's important to realise that the person that you are now is not the person that's here. So what have you done in the last year? Because you have to learn on the job, you have to lead on the job, you have to be more graceful, forgiving and compassionate all at the same time, but still you want to kill someone. How have you grown? What do you think you've grown internally as a person and a leader?
Yeah, I think personally I've probably grown, learned more how to trust myself and trust those instincts and go with things. And if I'd made any mistakes so far, it's probably not been hiring people quickly enough. And I think that's definitely more just was that sort of fear holding me back. Like, it seems a scary thing to have that kind of, you know, the overheads and the payroll and all that stuff. But actually, you know, if you get the right people, I suppose it's not like a cost to the business; it's a value add, because they're doing way more. You know, so it's not so it's not an expense to hire good people, because they're adding, and now that I've kind of done that, got more confidence with doing that, that's been a real game changer for me. So yeah.
If you looked at the nomadic culture and the brand and the tone that you're obviously trying to portray to the outside world, obviously you've got to watch. If you went into nomadics, what do you feel? What are you proud of from a cultural point of view? What you show to, not just because we all can show shiny faces to the outside world, but if someone went into the office, what would you be proud of from a cultural and a tone perspective?
Yeah, so there's I think what we're really proud of culturally is that we're creating like a world-class watchmaking facility, and it's in Belfast. And you know, everyone says, oh, that's not Switzerland, you can't do this. And when they come in through the door, you know, and when you come into our place, there's the boutique sort of space, that's like our showroom, and you can try them on. And then in the next room, that's like where the watchmaking sort of happen, where the magic happens, where they make the toys. And we had a couple in the other day, and I literally had to almost pick the guy's jaw up off the floor, because he just was like blown away by the sort of the process that we had going there. And we had, like, he was looking at a particular watch, and we brought it in, put it in under like a microscope, and had it up on the big screen TV for him, so we could see all the minute detail on the watch. And I'm like, look, this is the level of quality that we're going to check for X, Y, and Z. And he was like, flip me, you know, that's so much better than I've seen, you know, anywhere else in the world. And I think that's something that we're really proud of, to be able to create. And the team culture is very much, you know, as a startup business, it's fast paced, and things change a lot. So we've kind of created that sort of culture of flexibility and being able to wear many hats and do it all to a high level. So
that's fantastic. If you look back in the last year, has there been any standout mentors or people in your world that you look at, or maybe someone online that you went, obviously, you mentioned there you're developing as a person, developing as a leader and an entrepreneur and stuff like that. Is there someone out there that has really impacted you as a person in your world, whether it be online in the watch world or in the business world, that you went, well, I've picked that up, I've picked these traits up from him?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I've definitely tried to surround myself more with people that are further ahead of me in business, and try and learn from other successful leaders. And I don't know if there's been any one person that's had a major impact on me, but I think being around lots of different people is just challenging. Yeah, that's out of my comfort zone. You know, I would naturally be more introverted, so going out to meet people or networking events and these kind of things are definitely out of my comfort zone. But when I do that, I found, especially, I think maybe in Northern Ireland is maybe more unique than other parts of the world, but people are really willing to help you and support you and get behind you. And if you are chatting to someone, they're more than happy to introduce you to other people that might be able to help. And I've found that, the sort of business community has been amazing, really, to be honest, and quite supportive.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So probably it's already wrote down there, but I was going to ask, like, where do you see nomadic as like dream nomadic, like end goal? As in, where do you think like it?
Are you reading that off Henry's? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess, everybody knows the big name brands, and everybody knows your Rolexes and your Omegas and Tag Heuer and the rest of it, and everybody knows, Switzerland's the place to make watches, and everybody, the British kind of watchmaking scene has really kind of exploded over the last couple of years with a couple of brands like Braymont and like Christopher Ward, but nobody really here on the island of Ireland is kind of doing that for watchmaking. So I see Nomadic as kind of being the Irish watch brand, and kind of putting Belfast on the map to be known for watchmaking. And that's
to that, actually, from people that we bump into, that they're very aware of the brand. So you're
and that's what we want. When you think of major Swiss brands, everyone can name one. When you think of the British brands, everyone can name one. But when you think, nobody's heard of Belfast as a watchmaking hub, and that's my vision for what we want to do. Put Belfast on the map around the world.
But that excites me. I could even get goosebumps because I can hear your passion. You've got a fantastic product. Obviously, standing up against Rolex and some of those guys, have you ever had a hater? Would be, I don't like the word hater type of thing, but people would try to undermine. Yeah. So okay, I'm going to use the word hater now because they've got to know from Peter. So you've obviously had. Because there's many agencies we've been in over the years, and you go in and sometimes you feel insignificant. And not that they would make you feel that way, but when you go on the online, people would want them to just take, he's a wee bit above his station here, let's bring him down to size. Have you dealt with that?
Yeah. So yeah, I think haters gonna hate. It's like, it's inevitable. As soon as anybody's doing something a wee bit different or starting to do well, the haters are all going to come out of the woodwork, and we don't have probably too many of them, but they definitely exist. You go on our social media and you'll see people, slagging us off, and I just kind of ignore it because they're not my customers anyway.
No.
So I don't really care what they think. That's fine. You don't have to like our watches. You don't have to buy our watches. That's cool. All right. People do like our watches. People are passionate about it, and they're the people I want to connect with. The guys that we can make an impact with and are gonna resonate with our watches and enjoy them and have a lifetime of enjoyment out of them. Those are the people we speak to. And you get a couple of haters, you just go, all right, move on.
I think you've said something really important there, is that they're not my watch, they're not my target audience, they're not my future client. And I think a lot of times people get undermined by what people say out and around. And when you look at it in the cold face today, because we've had it as well, where you look at it and you go, that's okay, they are not our target market.
Yeah.
Because see if they can't embrace the culture of who you are. Because there's one thing, when I look at the Nomadic brand, people could replicate probably what you do, but they can't replicate what you are. And what you've actually built a brand, you've built up with passion, and you started off humbly from a financial perspective, and you've built it into something significant. And I think that's exciting. But when people do get a wee bit of hate online or a wee bit of text that it's undermining, it's key to realise that you've got, where you're, as PJ stole one of my notes here, that where he wants to end up. Guys, seriously, ask if you have any burning questions, please ask Peter.
But yeah, I think on that front, like it is like even you get maybe 10 really positive customers and great feedback from your real paying clients. Sometimes that one negative comment can like throw you off and almost like ruin your day, and it's amazing like the power of one negative thing can have on you. and it's really important to remember that, you know, you got to stay the course. You know, you're doing these things for a reason, and if you believe in your mission and you're backing that up with some actions that are working towards a strategy that you're sort of set on, and then that's when, you know, you can just ignore them because you just stay the course, I think.
Cool. I think that's so important. There's things that, not that we would get a lot of haters, you know, we've always endeavoured to add value everywhere. I always find that we're quite, I'm sure there is people out there who don't have a great love for us, but we've never intentionally go out to do anything derogatory. But when I feel setbacks or they have that narrative, you're going, this could fail or blah, 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 you go, hold on a second, this is part of the journey. You have to tell yourself, failure is not final, and this is part of the journey. I always say to myself, Henry, remember, you're building something. Learn, tweak, measure, and adapt, and use the experience. How's that helped you going forward? Have you got anything significant in your last few years where you've had a setback and you say, right, okay, I'm not probably going to do that again, or significantly change, or has it really shaped your business?
Yeah, I think it has. I think the way I sort of approach failure is, well, like you said, failure is not final, and I always think, is it going to be totally catastrophic? Is it irrecoverable? Probably not. And when you put it into perspective like that, it's not really that scary. Yeah. And then it's not really that much of a risk, so you can sort of proceed without that sort of fear sort of holding you back. And I think that's been really important to realise that it's not irrecoverable.
Yeah.
You know.
So if you're going to say something to the audience who's watching right now that's listening to your story, and they've heard how you've went from your beginnings to where you are now, and certainly you're not done, you have a long way to go, what would be your kind of like your piece of advice if you were to meet your younger self, your piece of advice, or if you were to meet someone else who was going to start their business, what would you tell them?
I think probably the pieces of advice I would give to someone who's looking at or in business or starting a business is success leaves clues. You know, I always think that there's some other businesses there or some other leaders that you can look at that maybe haven't done exactly the same thing that you want to do, but have done something pretty damn close that you can look at and learn from and say, well, they made this mistake, they made that mistake, they've done this well and that well. I'm going to copy those things that are working and put my own spin on it. And those are the massive like hacks and shortcuts you can take by looking at other successful people. And if it was to meet my younger self and give myself a bit of advice, I would probably say you're enough. And just believe in yourself and have that confidence, because you've got it within you. And I think that would have eliminated probably years of self-doubt and that imposter syndrome, you know.
Very good, you're enough. That's powerful. In light of what Christopher has just said, is there any 1, 2 or 3 books or audibles, which obviously is massive now, is there any of those 1 or 3 of those books that you've went, I needed that, I read it, I've listened to it, but now I'm seeing the information, the way the more information you go in, you start to work it out?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I try to read tons of books, and especially Audible now. I listen to loads of Audibles, like just driving in the car to and from work. You're using that time and getting something into you that's sort of beneficial. So I think I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss. So he has there's a couple of books. He's got Tools of Titans and Tribe of Mentors, and he sort of interviews these, whatever 100 or so business leaders, or maybe sports people, or just people doing cool, interesting stuff. And I think those have been the most useful ones, because you get tons of bits of advice from tons of different people, and you maybe listen to it and you get one wee bit of advice, oh, that's really good, and then you listen to it again in a few months' time and you pick up something totally different again from someone else, and you're, oh yeah, that was really good. So those have been really, really useful books. And then I quite like autobiographies and stuff, so I listened to the one from Ray Kroc of McDonald's. It was really good. It's a really good book, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger's book's actually really good as well. It's super, quite like his approach, sort of starting from a little small town in Austria, and he used that sort of success leaves clues model. He looked at a guy, Reg Parks, who kind of was this big bodybuilder who made it into film and stuff, and he was like, well, I could do that too, and do it different, do it better. And then he sort of used him as the blueprint for his kind of life, and it was
America and living with.
Yeah, so
Him and his family for a bit?
he went across then. So he sort of got into bodybuilding, and he seen that as his ticket to what he wanted to do ultimately, get to America. And he went then, I think, what you call the guy that Joe Weider was like the bodybuilding guru, I guess, sort of thing. So he brought Arnold over to America and sort of gave him a shot, and then he sort of took her from there and won all these championships and stuff, and then got into acting. So
I actually had have listened and read and watched a number of wee things on Arnie, because there was a few significant setbacks Arnie had because of the back cloth he had with your man who brought him over, and he ended up coming third, I think, in one of his competitions, and then he ended up coming third again or something. I can't remember all the details, but I remember Arnie sitting in a state of confusion of why. And then again, you're saying about the tribe of mentors, because PJ and I were talking about this actually at lunchtime, how important it is that those people who are at different levels of your development, because the people who are going to be in your world maybe in a year's time is going to be vastly different from, and I think that's important to embrace, on that journey as well. I've probably one question, because I don't know any questions you have. Peter and Jane Macaulay, obviously, what, if you look down the line, it's a bit on similar to young Peter James's, is what type of legacy would you like to leave?
yeah, I think that's a really good question. I probably...
You think about it? But
Well, I don't need that.
You're not
I
even
know. I
asking.
think I tend to focus on that kind of short to medium term, like what's the next 1 to 3 to 5 years kind of look. But the legacy I would like to leave is putting Belfast on the map for all the right reasons. Again, obviously, you in the wider world, nobody's knows Belfast for any sort of good reasons, and I think to be able to do that with Pneumatic, that's the legacy I want to leave us.
Yeah, that's it. Because we all, the minute we met you, and we just got excited about the story of Pneumatic, because we're two passionate Belfast folk, and we don't live in Belfast at the minute, but we genuinely have an absolute passion for our great city, and that was one of the things that I think is going to take your brand worldwide. I genuinely believe it, Peter. I don't know what door it's going to be knocked over the next year and a bit, and I know we obviously are having discussions with the states and doors there, because we've got a massive population of everybody's some form of Irish heritage in America, whether it's third generation, 2 generations. But I genuinely believe that the next 2 or 3 years, I genuinely think and believe that your brand is going to supersede some of the brands that we've seen here in Northern Ireland. Genuinely, purely because of your passion, your integrity, your brand, the story, everything about it. And we're so excited. We're so blessed to be involved in the journey.
So if you want to see some of Peter's watches and you want to see what Peter's about, you can head up onto his website. We're going to put the details down in below, and you can actually call in and meet the guys and see how the watches are put together down in Belfast as well, if you're living here in Northern Ireland. And I'd really encourage you to go and check them out. It's a really cool story. It's a really cool watch and collection of watches. And Peter, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story and telling us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think anybody who does want to come down and visit, it's a great experience. Even you just want to have a look and see what we're doing, what we're all about.
There's a drinks fridge and everything.
There, yeah. Get a cup of coffee, get a beer,
don't even have to go and
get a
speak to the
whiskey.
guy, just